I'm Bridget, and I grew up on Long Island. When I was in high school, we had a regular substitute named Mrs. Thomas. As you can probably guess, it was Craig's mom. She loved to tell us all about the show, about Craig and Carter meeting at Wesleyan, and about how Jason would call her mom at season wrap parties because Marshall was the mirror of Craig in their story. Most notably, however, is that in my senior year, she subbed a class just after the finale aired. In my memory, it was the exact next day, but that's probably incorrect. She was so excited to hear our thoughts on the finale, that we all finally knew the secret after all these years, and she was so proud of you and the show that you had created. I loved getting to connect with Mrs. Thomas over How I Met Your Mother, and the show ending is such a strong memory of the end of my senior year. A friend who fancied himself a Barney even made a bracket of girls that he wanted to ask to prom. So good luck with the show. I can't wait to listen, and thank you so much for the show that you created.
Wow.
Wow.
I've been ambushed with my own mother. I can't take this. I'm on camera. This is too much pressure.
You can't hide from her anywhere.
I know. How did she find me?
I'm alone. What a pity I won't be soon in New York City. When I see you, please permit me to tell you everything in New York City.
Well, hello, Mrs. Thomas and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of How We Made Your Mother, where we are discussing the television series How I Met Your Mother, which aired on CBS from 2005 to 2014. I'm Josh Radnor. I played the I in How I Met Your Mother for all 208 episodes. I was in all of them. And I'm joined by my friend Craig Thomas, who co-created the show with Carter Bays. Hey, Craig.
Hey, Josh. My God, my mind is swimming. That was insane. Hello to my mother, who is the biggest How I Met Your Mother fan in the world. This is how everyone met my mother on this podcast. And thank you, Bridget, for your kind words about my mother, who is an amazing English teacher and then was substituting and still every now and again does teach. She teaches like English as a second language in Port Washington, New York. She's just a lifelong wonderful teacher, wonderful person, wonderful writer, and a huge influence on me and the show, and adores you, Josh, adores you, Alek. Alek and I went to college.
Your mom is a delight. Your mom is a delight.
When we were launching the podcast, my mother said, I'm really glad you're doing the podcast with Josh and Alek. They both have nice voices. And then I was waiting.
Craig, I don't know if this is a Midwestern thing, but do you have the experience with your mom at least, or any, relatives where they don't head on directly compliment you, but they brag about you to ancillary characters in your life, and you have to hear, your mother's so proud of you, your father's so proud of you, and you're like, I wish they'd tell me.
Yeah. There's maybe some of that sometimes. I mean, my mother's pretty good about telling me she's proud of me, even though I just told that joke about your voices and me getting no compliment on my voice, which is fine.
You carry yourself with
my voice is fine. My voice is fine. It's not
you
great.
Carry yourself with like someone who believes his mom is proud of him.
I would say that I experienced that more with my father, who I don't know if he can figure out how to listen to this podcast, and if he can, he'd be scandalized when I'm saying this. I think he would be the person that would tell somebody that he's proud of me more than saying it directly to me.
Got it.
But he has said plenty of nice things to me as well.
Yeah.
But that's thank you for that comment, Bridget. That's so moving to me that you have all those fond memories of my mother and her teaching you and How I Met Your Mother, and it's my whole life.
It's all woven together. Yeah,
I know. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, we should.
But we're
stop.
not here just to talk about my mother, as wonderful as she is.
We should stop shitting on Long Island because lovely things happen out there.
You know what? A lot of lovely things happen in Long Island,
and you're from there,
and also other
Long
things.
Island's favorite son. Well, today we're discussing episode 8 of season 1. It is called The Duel. When did this episode air, Alek?
This originally aired on November 14th in the year 2005, written by Gloria Calderon-Kellett.
Gloria, wonderful How I Met Your Mother writer. Gloria.
Hi, Gloria.
Huge shout out to her. Wonderful writer, was on multiple seasons. I think this would be her first, right? This is her first one. Wrote some other all-timers, including drumroll please, which we'll get to. She's really great.
How did you guys just meet her in an interview, or did you know her before you were staffing?
We were all on another show to get together very, very briefly. Carter and I did a teeny
Quintuplets?
little. We were actually on a couple other shows together, believe it or not. And we none of the show. We were briefly on a show called Quintuplets. Hold for applause. As America, even my mom's like, "What the fuck is that one?" I don't even. I'm not proud of him for that, and I don't like his voice. It was an also ran a little blip on the radar, but Glow was on that, and she was on the show Oliver Bean with us. I'll hold for even more applause. It's hard to you can't even prove these shows exist anymore. You can't even, they're not on streaming. They were TV shows. Remember Courtney Kang, where she was like, I was on multiple TV shows that I cannot prove existed. These might be in that category. Oliver Bean was a very charming show, and had its fans and was not. That one could have gone longer than it did. But we met Gloria, and we knew we really liked her, and so we said, you just make mental notes. If I ever have a show, this will be our team, and it's great to get to do that. So
let's just summarize the like key bullet plot points of the Duel. So one plot point is that it's revealed that Lily kept a separate apartment in Queens just for peace of mind, essentially, even though she hadn't been back there in 3 months. So she had this kind of reverse pied-à-terre that was just her emotional security blanket apartment.
It was her fat pants apartment.
It was her fat pants.
You're glad they're there. You don't have to use it. That's a great line.
Great line.
Maybe that was Glow. That was not my line.
So she goes back with Robin and discovers that her apartment has been converted to a Chinese restaurant.
I love that joke so much.
And they're still using...
I kind of forgot it.
They're still using the dresser. They're using her playlists that Marshall made for her. And they seem to know her pretty well. Like they're intimately woven into her life at this point.
Pictures, her mail, her stuff.
Yeah, it's all there. So that's great. And then there's a plot line about Ted getting concerned. Ted and Marshall have never really discussed what's going to happen to their apartment once Marshall and Lily get married. And one of my favorite jokes, which does recur, and this is the first time, I think it's let's let future Ted and future Marshall deal with that, right? Yeah. So they kind of kick it down the road, but then it turns they actually fight, quite literally have a sword fight about this apartment, and there's larger issues to unpack around it. But is that it? Is there? Oh, and then the lemon law. Then there's a third one. Explain the lemon law.
Yeah. The lemon law is a Barney Stinson invention. He wants it to become a thing that you shouldn't have to do the dance and do elaborate lies to get out of a terrible first date. You should be able to decide right away in the first 5 minutes. And if you say within the first 5 minutes, you've lemon lawed that person, kind of like buying a bad used car and having some recourse for having been sold a lemon. And he's trying to make it a thing. It's his first thing of trying to make a thing a thing.
A thing. Sense. You know, it occurs to me that Barney is a little like, he was like an internet meme artist / troll before there was such a thing.
Prior to it.
Do you know what I mean? Like he was in the real world. He was trolling people. He was trying to like create trends. He was trying to make things go viral, but like in life, like starting in the bar. Yeah.
He foreshadowed many things in our current landscape, I think.
Yeah. And also the swing back to shock humor and saying anything and everything to get a response.
Yeah.
And also and that being evidence of his sad brokenness.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
But to spoil it, but at the end he gets dumped based on the lemon law, but he's not even upset about that because he's like it's become a thing. That's the thing for him is like
Barney in these first, I think this is episode 8, right, Alek? In the first 8 episodes is not particularly concerned with getting laid. Dude, isn't that interesting? Like we're like a third of the way through season 1, and he's so ecstatic that he got lemon lawed because it's become a thing. His thing became a thing. He does not care that he does not hook up with that woman or seemingly any other woman in this episode.
Well, it's kind of like
most of the episodes.
It's also like it's all under the umbrella of getting laid. It's like the ethos of getting laid, but the story and the memification of it all is almost more important to him. It seems
it's explicitly more important to him in this one. It's hilarious.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
We'll be right back. Greg, we talk a lot about dating on this show
We sure do.
because How I Met Your Mother there was a lot of dating in it.
There was some dating.
You know what I mean?
Only hundreds of them, though. Only
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. And, I was thinking, like, shopping for anything, but especially shopping for a car. You have a car, right?
I got 2 of them. Not to
Yeah.
brag.
Having a car in New York City is a game changer, don't you think?
Big game changer.
I drive in New York City, and I love
I drive in
driving
New York a lot.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. You know what's good with a dog? If you have a dog, you want a car.
And
Throw
you
that
got
dog in the trunk.
and you skip town with your car.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's not looking for a car can be a real headache. It's not unlike dating. I mean, there's so many options, there's so many choices, and we don't. They've done studies. Our brains we wither when we have too many choices, don't we?
It's the paralysis of too many choices. You don't know what to do. You're shut down.
Yeah.
Deer in the headlights.
I mean, if only there was a place that could help us out and sift through it almost for us. It's like a casting director for cars. That's what we need.
Where are you going with this?
Wait,
What is this conversation?
I'm telling you, we need a casting director for cars who only brings us like, look, these are your best options. This is you're gonna want one of these, right?
A casting director for cars is some Don Draper stuff. That was good. Just to be clear, that was Josh. Josh just made that one up.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about CarGurus. They're doing this for us.
I know you are.
Shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting. But they take all the exhaustion out of it and they leave you with nothing but excitement. These CarGurus.
That's what they do. That's why they are the CarGurus. I think we should make a show about the CarGurus next. That's our next show. They rank the best deals. They verify dealers. They make sure you never pay more than you should. Your big deal, Josh, it just became a great deal. I'm making this all up off the top of my head now. Your thing was good. That was good casting director.
Well, CarGurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. And you can go to CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. Did you already say that?
I said that, but it bears
Let's say it
repeating.
again. Let's say it 3 times. Go to CarGurus.com
to make sure I'm saying it at the
big
same time.
deal
Is the best deal.
That's
It's the best deal.
CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com.
Casting director for cars.
Craig, I had a thought yesterday, I think, where I was thinking about how long it's been since the show aired. And I remembered talking with you and Carter about this notion of post-September 11th. It felt like you guys kind of got swept out to the West Coast. Like it was the end of this kind of very New York chapter in your life. And it took you to the West Coast. And you found fame and fortune, writing this show. But 2005, I was like, wow, September 11th was still very much in the air.
It was
still really
that.
like, it was still pulsing in New York and nationally. And it's been so long that it's got the the sepia tinge of history around it. But at that moment, it was still, I don't know, there was still like a feeling of unease in New York.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it lasted quite a long time and took years to go away. I remember visiting New York in the years after moving to LA. We moved to LA in 2002, months after September 11th, and coming back and just feeling like, oh, it's still here. I still feel this. I still feel this. In 2002, you felt sort of like you could still like smell the air of it. I mean, it was really, it's hard to overstate what that was. And it lasted years and years. And and it informed, like I've said before, it informed, I think this show informed our move to LA. It informed our nostalgia for New York. And it's funny, we never had the characters talk about that, right? The show was in 2005. It just felt too hard. We wouldn't want to be disrespectful or do it wrong or try to seem like we're being glib about anything. But it feels like it's part of New York at that time. It's somehow part of the story and certainly part of the creation of the show.
It strikes me it would have either been their senior year of college or their first September in New York, which is actually more. So it actually would have been a very formative thing for them. But
hugely. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder, this is like a stretch, but just go with me. I wonder if there was something in Ted, I mean, okay, this is a crazy, I don't even know where this iconic skyscraper gets taken out by terrorists. That would talk about something that would affect Ted, right? It's like an iconic building. But then he has this thing of like, we don't have all the time in the world. Like this impatient kind of clock starts running in him. I don't know. This is all like Monday morning quarterbacking the whole character, but it just, I was struck by how close 2005 was to 2001.
I don't think it's a reach. I think there's something to it. There's something, because after that happened and we were all in our 20s and we're all having fun in New York in our 20s, and then everything changed that day. And then I think it did inform people's life choices after that and how you viewed life and the potential tenuousness of life and maybe wanting to find something to hold on to. And like, could that have been in Ted's DNA in some way? Absolutely. I think it was in Carter in my DNA in some way.
Yeah, exactly.
And informed
certainly
the creation
in mine.
of the show. So why is it not in Ted?
Right,
it is,
right.
I think it is in Ted. I think it's
also
really
that, they say the 90s ended on September 11th. Like the 90s, the ethos and the vibe of the 90s kind of like carried over. Chuck Klosterman wrote a really good book called The 90s. Did you read this book? Super fun read.
No,
You'll think about Ross Perot more than you have in a long time. But he said that the 90s were the last decade where being political was optional. Like in the 90s, remember we went to college with people who were like, I don't vote. And it wasn't super frowned on. It was just kind of like, that's a choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It wasn't like this defining thing. Yeah, I agree.
I also think that when we were in college, it was a much more ironic era. And I always, once I started doing a lot of college speaking, which I've done a lot of over the years, and I started like talking to millennials, I was like, oh, these are my people. Like, this is a much more sincere generation. And I think like you guys were like me, like you were sincere people in the 90s, which was actually like a bit of a rock and roll kind of like stance to take, because irony was so pervasive, like not seeming ambitious, not seeming to care about anything, saying the opposite of what you meant. All of that was so 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. There's that great, I just saw my daughter's getting super into the Simpsons, and there's like a 90s, like a late 90s Simpsons episode where it's like a Lollapalooza thing, and like two like jaded teens in the audience are like, this next act ought to be good. And the other guy's like, are you being ironic right now? And the first guy goes, I don't even know anymore.
Yes. Right.
And it was like, oh, that little exchange captured that decade entirely.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I will say this, and I want to say this delicately, which is that Carter and I more than once talked about, could we somehow imply in the show, by way of explaining some of Barney's brokenness and some of Barney's desire to like have Ted be his best friend starting at a certain moment in time, could we ever somehow in the right way imply that Barney, who worked downtown in the financial district, knew people, had lost people in 9/11.
Wow.
And that informed his trajectory kind of when he meets Ted. And we talked about it more than once. So it was like in the back of our minds that could be part of his journey. We found all these other interesting ways to get into Barney's backstory that we didn't ever attempt. The high degree of difficulty of how can you talk about that in the right way. I'm nervous talking about it now, 20 years later on this podcast. And maybe it's for the best that we never even tried to say that. But in the back of our minds, we're like, Barney moved in that finance world. There's just every chance that that something really impacted him. Maybe there was a loss there. Why did he all of a sudden want to find this whole new friend group through Ted around not long, after that time, right? Because think about that flashback to when Barney kind of meets Ted. Ted is the goatee, and it's kind of in the years following Ted, the first few years after college for Ted. I don't know. I never thought I would talk about this anywhere, and hopefully, if anyone's offended, I apologize deeply. But we definitely meant it by way of excavating the emotional life of that character. We were not trying to be funny about it. That's why we didn't do it, because we didn't want to be perceived as being glib about that.
Well, that's also, there's that thing of like when you're confronted with death, sometimes your body wants to procreate, like your body wants to make life,
Yeah.
And that could be a driver of a certain amount of compulsivity, possibly. I mean, that's fascinating. I just wanted to tease that out because I realized September 11th doesn't feel so close nowadays, but it certainly we were just edged up closer to it than I had realized. Again, with Ted in this episode, there is, he's at odds with himself. I can see he both wants his life to change in the most substantial ways possible. I want to meet a woman. I want to have children. Like he's trying to hurry up the universe. He's got this deep existential impatience. And at the same time, and this is where some of his, I think, internal storm comes from, he is like, please, God, let nothing change. Let Marshall and Lily live here forever. Let us live in this apartment forever. And I think I hear from a lot of people in their 20s who are, one, they all think they're old, which is hilarious.
But as did we, and that's the we wrote the show from that place.
Think, I'm not successful
totally
by
true.
25. Time has run out. I had
absolutely,
and I try to remind people your 20s are probably the hardest time of your life in terms of the amount of change, instability. Your friend groups can kind of change and realign you. I found leaving college to be mildly traumatic just because I was like, where's the meal plan? Like I like dining halls. I like communal meals. Yeah. I like knowing where my friends are going to be. And I think that's what Ted loves about the bar. He loves the dependability of it, the reliability of it. But he's really put himself in a bind because he's out of one side of his mouth, he's hoping life changes in the most dramatic ways. And on another, he's like, please, he's holding on for dear life to have things absolutely stay the same.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He wants everything to change and nothing to change, at the same time.
You said that's exactly what I was trying to say for the last 5 minutes. But
it's impossible. It's such a great observation. It's who he is. And that's the paradox of trying to plan everything when everything is ultimately unplannable. And of course, it comes from so much love. What he really wants is life to stay as it is, and he just has this perfect woman to fill into this double date slot with Marshall and Lily, and they are his family. And this is one of those first episodes where you really feel that idea of like, what if Ted is left behind by Marshall and Lily, who are his family in New York? And you really feel that vulnerability. Yeah. But that is also running counter to Ted's thing of like, she threw out Shockey, which, by the way, I shout out to Carter's college coffee maker, which was Shockey. Oh, my God. Carter and his college roommates, which I was not one of them. I didn't live with Carter in college. I lived with Alek in college all 4 years.
At Wesleyan?
You have to remember this. It was all 4 years, Alek. We'll talk offline. But Carter really had Shockey. That was really.
But Carter also he has a nostalgic bent. Like he loves old timey things, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Like he loves things that have like a story attached to them, right?
Absolutely, the taste of rust and the coffee. The coffee bottom.
So Shockey really made me laugh. It's such a great metaphor. I always loved plugging in the thing and having like a literal, like I'm being electrocuted, but there's joy in it.
You played it like this is every morning. You need that jolt.
You're just gonna. It's part of the wake up routine. You get electrocuted and then you get caffeinated.
You played that perfectly. Oh, it's really funny.
No, and I also love where he's disturbed because wait, this coffee's good. Like the new coffee maker makes good coffee.
This is too good.
It's too good. And then
you were very funny in that.
But there's something so funny and endearing about this idea of I would rather have bad coffee that's dependably the same than a new cup of good coffee.
It's the fear of change. It really is. There's a lot of themes of the show in that.
it's all over the first season and I would argue the whole show is this idea that life, the only thing constant is change. Life is roilingly moving and changing and transforming. And we get into a lot of trouble when we were like, no, I will not be on the side of change. I will dig my heels in and I won't change. Like you're either going to get ground underfoot or you're going to be left behind. Like, and I have found a friend of mine reminded me, he said, you've loved every chapter of your life. And it's true. It's not to say I don't have my ups and downs and everything, but when I am on the precipice of the doorstep of a big change, I'm pretty terrified. I wake up at 3 a.m. and can't fall back to sleep. Like the anticipatory anxiety is so great. Once I move into the apartment or go do the job in the other city, and once I'm in the flow of it or start making the movie, boy, it's like the clouds part and I have this new jolt of energy. And I actually feel younger in a weird way, Like I just think that one of the deep lessons of How I Met Your Mother is like, say yes to change.
Yeah. And there's something inherent. What you're saying exists within that idea of like, whose problem that could be? Future Ted and future Marshall. Let's let those guys figure it out. But there's this funny kind of like meta awareness of the show that is about the future and told from the future. And the characters seem aware of it at times. Barney in the Lemon Law, people will talk about the Lemon Law for generations to come. And Ted and Marshall are punting their problems to their future selves. But there's something funny about this idea of like, yeah, your future self actually will figure that out. Right. They actually will.
In fact, your future self is narrating this scene.
Yeah, they figured it out. He's just telling the story right now. That future self who figured it out is talking about this. Yeah, that's why we're seeing the story.
To add what you were saying, Josh, I was once I was a sign language interpreter, and I was interpreting a class about business, and the teacher said something that was profound, or at least in terms of our discussion, it feels like it is, where he said, what does McDonald's sell, right? Like, what is the hallmark of McDonald's? What are they actually selling? And everyone was like, hamburgers and soda and French fries. And he said, no, they're selling consistency. Yeah. And this is why things like McDonald's and Starbucks and Target and things like that are so rampant and stultifying, right? They're sort of like creative ending, because people are they just want to reach for what they absolutely know. Yeah. And to go to that other restaurant, that other place that, like you're saying, you move into the new realm will probably be exciting and different. Yeah. But not going to consistency is deeply terrifying.
But if any of those companies want to advertise on this show, you are
just give us a call,
and your product is great.
HowWeMadeYourMother.com, click on contact.
If you want to hear us. Yeah. Well, I also think, though, that we all have some combination that we have to figure out what's right for us. Like, there are certain morning routines that we love, and when they support us and they support our kind of getting our head on straight in the morning, and we're really I think we're always navigating between newness and the kind of maintenance of what works or what. But the trap is when you fall into too much of a routine and too much of a rut, and you don't have enough of that like unknowable kind of creative spark. But the good news is, I think the universe delivers you a lot of newness and change anyway, right? Like, you can't help but be, if you're paying attention, things are going to be changing, Like I heard this thing, if you're having a hard moment, like, stay on the train, the scenery will change. Like, yes. It's just going to keep moving. Sorry, what were you going to say?
The river is never the same twice. Like, the idea of the Chinese restaurant is that, right? In practice, like, she's holding on to this apartment for comfort. And guess what? It's a fucking Chinese restaurant now. Whether you wanted it to become a Chinese restaurant or not, it has changed in your absence.
The great lesson of the final scene, which is it's one of the great, I think, final scenes of the first season.
Yeah, I mean, I
is them all eating at the Chinese restaurant. But that is the solution, right? The solution is not, I'm going to call someone to evict you to get you out of here. The solution is, let's try the dumplings. Because maybe this is going to be our new favorite Chinese restaurant in Queens, Yeah. Let's try the dumplings is like a little bit of like a people will dance.
Can we make a t-shirt of let's try the dumplings?
Let's try the dumplings. Yeah.
Embrace
but
the
it turns out they have a great meal there.
They do. And then they get a little reward by embracing change. They get a little reward of Marshall's voice wishing Happy Valentine's Day 1998 to Lily. So there's like, it's sort of the past and change existing at the same time in this kind of beautiful way. I loved that last scene. I forgot about the Chumbawamba song, and I forgot about Marshall had put his voice over the mixtape, which was definitely a move people used to do when they made mixtapes in the 1990s. And goddamn, I loved. I had the same thought, Josh, where it was like, this is an object lesson in embracing change. The fact that they're sitting there and having this meal in her apartment that is now a Chinese restaurant.
It almost feels also like it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I see why they wanted to create opportunities for the five of us to get around a table together, know, like whether it's Best Burger in New York or like just at the bar. But I remember you or someone, maybe Greg Malins, like someone said, like, we just realized that the show pops the most when it's five of you guys around the table, you know?
We had to temper ourselves sometimes and say we can't end every episode with like a sweet pullback shot of the five of them at a thing. But goddamn it did work so well whenever we did it. And whenever we could do a new version of that, like at the Chinese restaurant, you're like, let's do it. It's so sweet. There's such a power to it. And it's a very sweet moment at the end of that episode.
And this old man, he must admit he fell in love with you in New York City.
And now, commercials.
Craig,
Josh,
I'm hungry.
how are we going to solve that? What can we do?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I could go out on the streets of New York and go to a restaurant and get something, but I'm exhausted.
You want to stay home?
I want to stay home. I like it here. I've been on tour. I'm finally home. I don't want to move.
It's probably either really cold or really hot outside. I don't know which one. I don't know what season
it's not
it is.
Perfect. Why would I go outside if it's not perfect?
I agree.
What do I do? I have to eat because I want to stay alive. That's the number one. But also I like delicious things.
You like, okay, here's a possible solution because I want you to stay alive and I know you like delicious things. HelloFresh. Guess what? Boom, it's a HelloFresh ad. That's what's happening right now. HelloFresh makes it easier to fit quick, home-cooked meals into your schedule every week by curating delicious recipes like pasta primavera, chicken Dijon, and pecan. How do you say it? Pecan or pecan? I've had long debates about this. Different parts of the country, different pronunciations. Pecan-crusted trout, as well as over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats. That all sounds really good to me, Josh. That all sounds really delicious and like it would solve all of your problems.
I also like fresh things, which is good. It's right in the title. It's fresh, but also it's friendly. Hello, fresh. Do you know what I mean?
I do kind of know what you mean.
Hello.
I think you're so hungry you've stopped making
fresh.
sense. You need the HelloFresh to show up right now.
I really do. I really do.
They have been kind enough to us. They have invited us to sample their stuff. We're waiting for that amazing experience. We will update in the next installment of HelloFresh. So this will end on a cliffhanger.
I don't want to stress out any of the people at the company, but I am on a hunger strike until my HelloFresh box comes, and I'm withering away.
You are. You've lost a lot of weight.
I refuse to eat a thing until my HelloFresh comes.
The payoff is going to be beyond your wildest.
Well, every HelloFresh meal uses, this is what I understand, high-quality ingredients, including seasonal fresh produce, proteins that travel from the farm to your doorstep. It can't come soon enough.
Get it there. He's woozy. Listen to this, flexible deliveries that you can pause or skip when you need. That's amazing because you do travel a lot, Josh. You've been touring. You could do it. You could stop it when you go on tour, blah, blah, blah. That's a great feature. Listen to this. Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule, make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/yourmother10FM now to get 10 free meals with a free item for life. What? A free item for life? One per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. We can't wait to get our version of this, right, Josh? I
gotta get some food in me.
We gotta get food. HelloFresh, hurry. Fly like the wind.
Craig, do you remember me and Jason rehearsing with that fight choreographer?
Yes, only a little bit though. Remind me what that person was like. I have like a vague mental image. Keep in mind, I wasn't there for a lot of your rehearsing of that, so I actually might not know this.
We're gonna have to dog you that to ask Jason. I don't remember. I remember rehearsing with Jason. I remember getting very sweaty both in rehearsal and when we shot it. And I remember both of us.
It looked fun.
Having the time of our lives.
It looked legitimately fun.
Yeah.
You guys
were
so great together.
But that was one of those moments where I was like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to have a sword fight with my friend. Like, it was just so
really
silly. But I do have a story that I think Jason has told before, but maybe just among us. But were we even nominated for an Emmy first season? Did we go to the Emmys?
Oh, God, no.
No. Were we nominated Best Comedy Season 4?
One time only. And it was maybe, oh boy, shouldn't I know that?
I don't know what.
Maybe one of those certificates on my wall behind me. I can always look at what year it says.
We were at an award show. Okay. We're all sitting there. I don't know if it was the Emmys, but they're showing clips from other nominated comedies that are hilarious. Like, the best clips, the best jokes, the best whatever.
Yeah.
And for some reason, for How I Met Your Mother, they chose the sword fight with me and Jason, but a moment that had zero jokes.
No jokes.
No jokes.
Oh, boy.
Just me and Jason like talking shit to each other and banging swords. And in our memory, this didn't really happen, but in our memory, the whole audience went, boo! Just like, we hate you. And we've over the years, we were all like, why didn't they choose that clip?
I know. Oh,
because
my
it was an
God,
otherwise
moments.
delightful episode.
Yes.
Maybe it was us pulling the swords down and getting right about to start.
Yeah.
But there were so many other like comedically great moments that they could have. I don't know why they chose the swords, but it haunted me and Jason for years that we were held up as like that's the one you chose. And again, in the episode, in context, it's a great, hilarious moment. It's our Inigo Montoya and the Man in Black. It's like but it was so much fun to film. I also, again, Ted's like outrageous point making of ordering like the Old English phone booth to the apartment, this enormous eyesore that's just going to be sitting in the middle of the room.
It's so big.
And it's also like old-timey. Like he likes old-timey things.
Yeah.
And
it's all about holding on to the past, that whole episode. You and Jason, I feel like this is the most the two of you have gotten to play and bond in an episode so far in these 8, right? Like that there's something about your guys' specific like friend chemistry in this one that I think I texted you this the other night after watching it, but like there's something, I just buy that you guys, those two people are friends. Those two characters have been friends for years and years. There's not like this sitcom artifice where I feel like, it's these people pretending to be friends. They met a few weeks ago when we shot the pilot. Yeah. There's just a real feeling that there's history there. There's something about your guys' chemistry that does that. And it's just, it is magic and it's impossible to calculate or replicate. It just happens.
We can take some credit for it and we'll take it. On behalf of me and Jason, we'll take it. But I do also think the way you guys wrote that scene it was all about like historical wounds, right? Yeah. Like it was all about, well, what about this? And you did this. And,
when we got this place, you said this. Yeah.
You fill in the backstory. But I do think, and I almost mentioned this in the episode with Kobe, that a lot of times like you'll watch like the Young Hip show, the Young Hip sitcom from that era or era before or after. Yeah. And it really looks like they were cast. Like it just looks like they were cast.
Yeah.
And you guys look like, even though some people were more well-known than others, it looked like you guys assembled a group of friends. Yeah. And yes, we'll take some credit for that because I think we were good at playing it. But I think there was some wisdom in the casting that it wasn't, there were no miscastings. To cast a show right, that I would argue that any show that has a really long run was perfectly cast. It has to be, because a miscasting in a crucial role will sink a show.
Yep.
Yeah. So some shows like course correct or start focusing on different things. But I think that you guys just knew what you were looking for. You knew the feeling you wanted to invoke.
Yes.
Among the group of friends, and we were able to kind of deliver that.
And Lily/Allie is such a big part of that too. Like I really buy the friend chemistry of the three of you guys, and it's interesting in this one that Ted is at odds with the couple. Up till now, it's been, hey, mom and dad, I met this awesome girl. And it's been like parental and like they're all on the same team. This is really interesting to have this like war between the three of you.
He's almost being like a snotty teenager to his parents.
He's
acting out. Yeah.
But they both have good points. That's what's good. Both characters have a good point of why they should maybe get the apartment. Like Ted's trying to pull the heartstrings and Marshall's not having it. It was such a great sort of like the sword fight and the verbal sword fight during that was really great. You and Jason played that beautifully. I will say this, Carter and I lived in the same apartment when we first moved to New York. We were writing for Dave Letterman for about 4.5 years. And Rebecca, my wife, who we all went to college together, Rebecca's kind of like Lily, I'm kind of like Marshall, Carter's kind of like Ted. Rebecca would stay with us a lot in those sort of early 20s. Like she would stay over. She had a place in Brooklyn. She was living at home at first in Brooklyn, but she spent a lot of time in her apartment. And I'm sure some of this episode came from that. And it was Carter probably like having a little bit of a catharsis of like, yeah, Rebecca was always there. Carter loves Rebecca. Rebecca loves Carter. But it's he was the single guy
until her apartment turned into a dim sum place.
Yes, that part didn't quite happen in real life. But it's that idea of like, that moment in your 20s when people just live together and need to live together financially. And then like what happens when something about Lily making it official, even though she's not been home in months, something changes the vibe, right? There's Ted is spooked. The cattle has been spooked by this idea that now she really lives there. And I love single Barney and single Robin kind of feeding Ted a little bit, kind of being Iago a little bit, like, she's coming for you. You are being edged out, dude. And like the single people kind of making Ted more paranoid. It was very funny in this episode.
Right.
And
also,
kind of bonded
it strikes me that like it didn't just rattle Lily that her apartment was overtaken by a Chinese restaurant. It rattles Ted. Like he needed Lily to have that other space, even if she's there for months. It was a peace of mind for him.
Peace of mind for him too.
Yeah.
No, I felt very sad for Ted because it did feel like it's plausible he is being edged out. It is highly plausible.
And,
he's being edged out.
There's also like people go through this at different phases, but there's this dream, and I think this is baked in from the very first moment of the pilot. There's this dream that we're best friends and we're going to do all these life things together. We're going to get married at the same time. We're going to have kids at the same time. Our kids are going to be friends with each other. We're going to do Thanksgiving and Christmas together. They're going to do, we're going to just go along this path together. But it doesn't happen that way.
No,
it doesn't. It almost never happens that way.
It's so childlike, that belief, but you believe it in your 20s. You're not a child and you're still kind of believing.
Maybe that's what is so hard about your 20s is you all go through elementary school together. You all graduate 8th grade together. You all go to high school together. You graduate high school together. You go to college together. You graduate college together. Like there's this, there are these tiered years of progress that everyone's on the same schedule, essentially. Yeah. And you get out of school and some people go to grad school, some people don't. Some people join the workforce, some people go to big city, small city. Like it starts changing. Like your life isn't written yet, but the opening chapters are really starting. The ink is drying on them.
Yes. So
you start to feel like my friends are pulling away or I'm going to be left behind.
I'm going to be left behind. That's a very real 20s feeling. And that is at the core of Ted's story in this, right? I'm going to be left behind.
Yeah.
That's why
I think it's part of Robin's thing. Like where do I belong? Career stuff. I also think it's funny when you live in a 2-person apartment with 3 people in your 20s, which we've all done.
Yep.
Like it's only in your 20s that you have the bandwidth and flexibility to do that.
You'll never do it again.
You'll never do it again.
You
can sleep on terrible mattresses and terrible couches and pop up and go to work the next day. But you hit 35 and you have a bad night's sleep on the wrong pillow.
Yeah.
Like you got to call in sick,
And the swords symbolize this thing. The swords just symbolize it. It's great. There's a lot of great. It's very Chekhovian, right? It's very like it's the rifle over the fireplace in Act 1 is going to have to fire in Act 3. Those crisscross swords on that wall. There's going to be a duel with those swords.
I have a question though. Were they there from day one?
Yes, right? Boy, that's a great question. Were they there from the pilot? I don't know. I think we snuck those in with this idea. I think we snuck those in with I think we had this idea and snuck them in because we knew we were writing this. We put the swords on the wall at a certain point a little bit ahead of this episode. Holy crap. I wish I knew
Can someone help us answer that? Can some HIMYM internet sleuth just tell us if the swords were over
I love that we're so lazy.
The piano. We can't even do it. I'm just curious.
I know that there must have been huge discussions about this, and we had this idea, and I think we got the swords on the wall just a little bit ahead of this episode. Yeah. That's my memory.
But you know what else is funny is kind of like we slid the swords up there to then go, but these swords represent they're the iconic swords above the piano. We've always had these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst answer is going to be we snuck them on just for that episode and they were never up. And that could be the truth. I'm trying to make us more clever than we really are. Alec, is that true?
I've only asked my friend ChatGPT, who does say the swords first appear on the wall in season 1, episode 8, The Duel.
They've been there for years, dude. Yeah. They represent our friendship from when they went up, when Probs put them up 20 minutes ago.
I don't think Shockey ever made the like iconic HIMYM props list, but the swords are up there.
Oh yeah,
like the swords are
iconic.
A thing.
They became iconic, but I think let's be honest. I think.
But I also really love how you guys deal with the material world. Like you're quite attentive to the material world, and our attention, our fascination with and our connection to objects. I remember when I did Uncle Vanya in grad school at NYU, and I played Astrov, which is an incredible play, an incredible part. But Astrov is this county doctor, and he's a bit of an alcoholic who's not a bit, he's an alcoholic, and he's trying not to drink. And he's in love with this woman, and this other woman's in love with him, like all Chekhov plays. But he's got these maps. He's an environmentalist, and he's got these maps where he's mapped out the degradation of the forests and how it's being environmentally, degraded. And I had a teacher who said to me, he really loved my performance, and he said, "I didn't think you were connected enough to the maps. I didn't feel that they were your maps." Right?
That's a great note. What a smart, I know. That's a great actor note.
I know. Yeah. And I remember that always stayed with me of like fall in love with your props. Like get that you went into a flea market and bought this thing. Like just imagine how long you've had it, what it means to you. And I think I've gotten better at that over the years, like of having the props really be an extension of self or like they tip something off about your character, what you're connected to in the material world.
Yeah. Everything has history. Everything has meaning, right? The things we have, things we choose to put in this apartment, which is not a huge apartment, and there's 3 people living there. Ted's things will matter to him, or the things he thought he shared with Marshall. And
it's almost like every flashback movie is. I mean, the Titanic is like, isn't it like a jewel? Like she looks at and it takes her back to the Titanic, right? Like, there's so many objects of memory that cinematically signify something that bring all these memories rushing back. Like we're very objectifying people, Yes. I read this thing, there's this Sufi book on music where he says music is the only form of art that's not idolatry because it's not about objects. Every other art form deals with the visual on some level.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And I think that's why music is probably the most spiritual, because we don't affix objects to it necessarily.
Yeah, it transcends the material world.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. This episode has a lot of that. Between Shockey and the swords and then the new edition of the British phone booth, which is just this aggressive middle finger fuck you to Marshall and Lily.
It's so
every
hostile.
Item has meaning.
Yeah.
And the Chinese restaurant, right? And then all of Lily's things that are still there, that are her things.
Yeah.
There's really an investigation of this thing, how do our things define us?
It almost feels like, did you see the Broadway play Appropriate?
No.
It's about this family and this house and this long buried secret and all this stuff. There's a lot of objects in it. But the ending is they just show the next 100 years of the house, like real quick, with this like incredible effect. And trees kind of like come up through the floor and vines, and they start kind of overtaking the house and bringing it almost back into the earth.
I'm getting chills. That's incredible.
Right. It was a really like great theatrical effect. It was pretty incredible. But it feels almost like the city like took Lily's apartment back. Yeah. Like the city like reached up.
Like nature grew, Chinese restaurant
the
grew
Chinese
around
restaurant
it
being
nature.
like urban nature just grew up around it because she left it for too long. Yeah.
I love that. I like that in our show, the kind of mystical quality of New York. These are magical things that happen in New York. We're trying not to do spoilers on the show, but there's a little later in the show where there's a spot, this Bermuda Triangle spot, where if you put something out there in front of the apartment, it will disappear. You put something there you want to give away, and it will just go. You won't see it going. It will just go. There's just somewhere that it has gone. And this idea of like Chinese restaurants overtaking like a forest growing around a cottage.
Seeing Maury Povich walking around is like magical.
I mean, the Cockamouse, like all of this idea of New York as this mystical, vaguely cryptozoological kind of almost like sentient character. New York City is great.
Some of that I think is you guys actually made New York magic, which if you live here long enough, you see that it actually is.
It is.
But the other thing is what memory does to stories, which we've talked about. Like
Yeah.
A 3-inch cockamouse becomes a 2-foot cockamouse by the time
Yes.
20 years passes.
Yes.
Things get inflated and enchanted.
To ill-advisedly bring it back to 9/11, I will say that idea of these things you think will always be there that then aren't, right? And then this idea of wanting, what do you hold on to in life? What can you even aspire to hold on to? And should you? And change is the constant and all of these things. And it's in this episode, and I think it's in this series, kind of writ large. That is kind of the series. So.
All right. So we're going to close up this episode with what has become a HIMYM tradition where we read a longer, lovely letter from a How I Met Your Mother fan. This one is from Italy. Is that right, Alek? Yeah. So I'll read this. Dear Craig, Josh, and Alek, actually everyone involved in making this legendary show. My name is Lucetta, but it is difficult to pronounce in English, so I go by Lucy. But I think I pronounced it fine. Yeah. And I'm an Italian fan of How I Met Your Mother. My relationship with the show started in late 2006 when season 1 aired here. I instantly wanted to catch up with all the past episodes and fell in love with the characters, the narration, each of Ted's stories, and their final moral. Now, I would like to tell you a story linked with the Matchmaker episode. In 2005, when HIMYM first aired in the US, I was 12 and living the worst nightmare of being bullied at school and hurt by the boys I liked. So I stranded myself on my devices and eventually landed on the online chat community where I could meet new yet virtual friends. That's when I started text chatting with Giorgio, a 14-year-old boy who lived in a town 50 minutes away from me. And we became really good friends from a distance. Years passed, we grew up and still haven't had the chance to meet in person. So in the meantime, we matched with other people who turned into love interests, but there was something between us. I remember we used to talk on the phone about How I Met Your Mother. He's a huge fan too. And plot theories together, talking about the existence of fate and real love. He stated that though those things didn't exist, if not in romantic novels or TV shows, so as Ted sometimes throughout the series, I continued to force myself into relationship with guys I deeply knew were bad for me. A little way down the road, in 2012, I was on the train from Florence to the town my parents would pick me up in, since I was coming back from first semester of university. You have to know that me and Giorgio at this point felt there was chemistry between us, but we never had the courage to face it in person. That's when our yellow umbrella, the regional train 3157, came to rescue our relationship definition, because without knowing it, he took the same train I was on, got in the same wagon a few seats far away from me.
Wow.
Long story short, wait for it. We got married in 2017.
Oh my God.
Had our daughter in 2022 and celebrated our 10th anniversary as a couple last November. We watched the show during happy days, bad days, and was a constant presence during a full year of major depression. Salute, major depression.
She did the major depression.
Wrote, salute. I've gone
That's
through when we
really high degree of difficulty.
I'm sorry to read this part. Major depression I've gone through when we lost our first baby. It was really rough for us to continue our lives, but we made it through. As Lily would say, it was a long, difficult road. Thank God we finally got here. Our story and Ted's story are very similar, and the moral to both is this. If you try to force destiny to happen sooner than scheduled, you will only make its happening seem very far away. But if you live, love, get hurt, learn to love again, and be patient, what's meant for you is just around the corner waiting for you. So thank you, Craig and Carter. Thank you, writers. Thank you, Josh, Kobe, Allison, Jason, and Neil, for giving me hope that something beautiful could happen, even to an underdog, bullied, still huge believer in something good happening, little girl from Italy. The highest male 5 to y'all, Lucy.
Wow. Lucy, we're so honored that you would share that story with us. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so happy the show meant that to you. so happy the show could be part of you meeting the love of your life. And yes, life just keeps happening, doesn't it? And the fact that the show was influential to you at that time and helped you meet Giorgio, is that, I hope I'm not getting the name wrong. Amazing. What an honor that the show could be that to you and continue to mean something to you guys as you continue through life's journey together. Thank you so much for sharing.
Craig, have you ever thought, like, you and Carter, like Matt Rice saying, like, How I Met Your Mother, that's the one, right?
That's our agent, Matt Rice, the great Matt Rice, yes.
And you realizing, like, oh yeah, this is like this is not hard to write. This is actually fun to write because we know these people, we know this world, we know where their ages. So you write this thing that's very personal, and it we're still talking about it 20 years later, like the cascade of events from the show in all our lives, which we're definitely unpacking on this show, but also Lucy and Giorgio, like their lives changed because Matt Rice was like, that's the idea. How I Met Your Mother's the right idea. And the CBS was looking for a show about young people at that moment. Right.
We don't want Matt Rice to get too big of a head. I mean, let's not give him all the credit. No, the great Matt Rice, our agent.
I hear from people all the time who are like, I started watching your show because my friend recommended it, and then we realized we were in love with each other. Like, babies have been born because of How I Met Your Mother.
We've heard it. We've heard that story many, many times now on this podcast, and just in the last 20 years that people have met, babies have been born, and it's just, I almost can't comprehend it. You know what I mean? It's you do feel like you write this thing. It's like a little message in a bottle. You throw it out into the ocean, and then you realize it found the people that it was that you hoped it would find, and then it meant more to them than you ever could have dreamed. And honestly, it is incredibly humbling and beautiful. And I'm so grateful to the fans for finding it and for sharing with us what it has meant to them. And I know Carter feels that way. It is the greatest honor, and Josh feels that way, and the whole cast feels that way. Pam, everybody who made the show, we put so much love into it, and we sent it out into the world, and it found some amazing people, including the person who just told us their story. And it's just that's the dream, right? Yeah. to borrow a phrase in the show, that's the dream. That's why you try to write stuff or make stuff and put it in the world. You dream that something like that can happen, but you don't know if it will.
It's almost like being a musician, and like lots of people fell in love to your song or had their first dance at their wedding to your song, or
and it becomes their song. It's not yours anymore. It's their thing. And there's something beautiful about that, because the show isn't us, right? The show's not you. The show's not me. It's a thing we did, and now it belongs to everybody else.
Elizabeth Gilbert has that idea of like, ideas are like these almost corporeal things that are just floating around the atmosphere, waiting for a person to grab them and make them. And if you don't grab the idea, someone else is going to grab it, and they'll write your novel or your TV show. Yes. So if you think it's yours, you better grab the idea and do it. There's something about How I Met Your Mother, like the story of a father telling his kids the story of how he met their mother. Yeah. Like way back it was just an idea that wanted to be.
It was an idea that wanted to be.
It had its own force and its own will and drive, and it found you guys, and you were willing recipients of it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it needs to be that sort of, you need to be that humble in the face of the thing, and say the thing, this is some bigger thing, and we got to be part of it. And God, just getting to share it with the fans like this is truly a gift. So thank you all. Thanks everybody for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. If anyone out there does want to let us know what How I Met Your Mother meant to them, whether it's a voice memo, which maybe we'll play on the show, or a letter we'll read, it can be silly, it can be funny, it can be touching, it can be heartbreaking. Like, we just want to hear the variety of experience you've had with this show, what it means to you. So go to howwemadeyourmother.com/contact. And what does it say? Just tell your story or share?
Right there, you'll have links to how you can send those voice messages, or you could type a message right into it on that page.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much as ever for listening. If you're loving what you're hearing, please tell your How I Met Your Mother loving friends that we're doing this, and join us, because we love this campfire that we've built, that we get to sit around and tell these stories, and we'd love more of you to join us. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
I am guilty, please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show is produced by me, Alek Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's Museletters on Substack. Read Craig Thomas's published prose at craigthomaswriter.com. And you can subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures, marketing provided by Tink Media. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you or just New York City?